Narcissists are pretty much full of themselves. Like, no matter what you see and no matter what is going on in your relationship, you have to realize that it's all about the narcissist. It's not about you. It's not about your feelings. It's not about your emotions. It's not about anything else in your life except him and how he's actually showing up and how he's communicating to you. That's because narcissists oftentimes fall into the different 9 diagnostic traits, and one of those happens to be entitled and preoccupied with this piece of success and brilliance. We're going to talk about some of these today. We're going to talk about number 2 and number 3 inside the 9 diagnostic traits of being a narcissist and narcissistic personality disorder. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness about narcissistic abuse. I work with women who have been trapped in toxic relationships to actually find freedom, to break the mold that they've been stuck in for such a long period of time, not able to express their emotions, not able to be safe emotionally, not able to actually break free of the trauma bond, the triggers, and the things that are currently leaving them stuck in a toxic relationship. If you're a woman that's trapped in a toxic relationship, or you're like, I'm not even sure if this is toxic. What is this? I don't even know what healthy is. I want you to reach out. Go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. Would love to be able to talk to you today to be able to see how I can help liberate you and help your mindset to actually be free from this addictive guy that keeps coming back into your life over and over and over. But when we talk about narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder, oftentimes it kind of comes hand in hand with that they're entitled. They expect to be able to get different things from you. They expect to be looked at and felt and appreciated a certain way. There's multiple things about the entitlement that happens with narcissistic abuse. As a narcissist, my whole world was thinking, hey, I'm entitled to anyone and everybody. Everybody was there to serve me. The world revolved around me. Other people were there to serve me. It was all about me. So even if it felt like it was about someone else, it was still always tracked back to me. Even if it felt like there was a trigger about something that someone else did, it was about how it made me feel. This is the part that oftentimes people don't realize, that no matter what we're talking about with narcissism and narcissistic abuse, it still has to do with the narcissist. It doesn't have to do with you. It has to do with the narcissist. And over, people don't realize that it is all about him. He's going to make it all about him. His thoughts going to be all about him, about his image, about his money, all different types. But some of it falls into these 2 diagnostic traits that happen inside of the DSM-5 and narcissistic personality disorder. So what are they? Let's actually dive in. So DSM-5 diagnostic criteria for a lot of different things, but we're focusing just on narcissism. There's 9 different things. You have to have at least 5 to be considered diagnosed or to consider having the disorder. And it has to be prevalence and prevalence over the years that you're seeing a regularity of it. We're going to talk about number 2 and number 3. Number 2, it says, is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited power, brilliance, success, beauty, or ideal love. And then number 3 is believes that he or she is special, unique, and can only be understood or should be associated with other high status or other special people or institutions. So the reason why I bring this up is because narcissists typically look at themselves as being better than everybody else, being entitled to what they have, what they think, like looking and acting a certain way. I am special. Everybody else is not. I am the best thing ever. Everybody else is not. The world revolves around me. The world does not revolve around you. So I want you to consider, like, in the toxic relationship that you've been in, you normally see a narcissist that is trying to exhibit some of these. Maybe it's overt and you see it very quickly. Maybe it's covert and it's more hidden underneath the surface because they're playing victim, or they're playing like you have to try to work on helping them or healing them or whatever it might be. They're trying to like slide under the surface, but it's still all about them. You might see that happen even inside of like a covert perspective of him serving you when you're sick and you feeling better and being like, oh my gosh, he's so invested in me when I'm sick. But all he's going to do is use it back on you later, and he's doing it to self-serve. Oh, look how good I am. Look how amazing I am, because he's getting attention and validation from you. When we talk about this piece of like the attention, the affection, one of the things it says inside the DSM-5, it comes in and it says these piece that they're often preoccupied with the fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, or ideal love. And they may ruminate about the long overdue admiration and privilege and compare themselves favorably with famous or privileged people. Like they're looking at life being like, man, I should be able to get this reward. I should be able to get this attention. I should be able to get this admiration. Then oftentimes it'll go into places of thinking, well, this person have it, why can't I? Well, this person has it, why can't I? Or it'll move into the place of just this like jealousy. Well, that's what I want. That's what I imagine. Growing up, I had a very vivid imagination. And there'd be different times that I would be in different scenarios that I would picture myself coming in and being the hero. Maybe it was like an action sequence and I was excited to be able to save the day from the bad guys or whatever it might be. But there would be different pieces that I would have from childhood and even into adulthood of like seeing different things in my mind, like an imagination of a certain situation where I rescue people or I fix something or I do this or I do that. And it was almost like this hero idea inside my mind. And it was trying to cope for different aspects that I wasn't showing up as an active hero. I wasn't showing up as an active man in my relationships, in my connection with other people. But instead, I was just walking through life, living in a fantasy world, being like, hey, this would be amazing if I was this, but I wasn't. I lived oftentimes in the reality of other people's reality, other people that I knew, other people that I interacted with, movies, TV shows, all different types of things, helping me feel and think a certain way, but it wasn't true about myself. So there's an incongruence in who I actually was and what I was actually looking at. So this success, this power, this brilliance, this like aspect of like this growth and development of like, oh, look how amazing I am, right? That was the whole thought process. Now, for me, the fantasies piece happened inside of the imagination, and the fantasies piece happened inside of the aspect of ideal love. This is one of the things that I was always like pursuing and trying to run down, trying to find. Well, this person's not it. Well, this person's not it. Well, this person's not it. And it produced this cycle in my life. This cycle that continued all through high school, through college, and through marriage, of cycling through different people, looking for the perfect person, looking for the person that was going to finally, quote unquote, get me, that was finally going to understand me, that was finally going to give me the love and the attention that I actually deserved. See, a lot of this goes back to the entitlement piece. This piece of where I'm looking and thinking that I am better than everybody else, that I deserve X, Y, and Z, that I need this kind of thing. It produced this level of neediness in looking for other people to validate who I was, to validate that I wasn't an abusive asshole, to validate that I was an amazing person, to validate and give me this love and connection and admiration. So oftentimes you're going to see that narcissists will use and leverage who they are to try to make themselves feel and look better. Sometimes you have this aspect that they think they're just superior to you. It's special. Like no matter what you do, you're never going to be good enough. You're never going to amount to anything. And on top of that, he expects you to recognize him as superior. This could be in like the teacher role of like, he expects to like be above you and you to listen. He expects you to respect him. Even though what you're doing even though what he's doing isn't very respectable, he still expects this respect ultimately from you. So you have to see and understand this whole aspect of narcissism, narcissistic abuse gets you to the place of where he's trying to manipulate, confuse, and control you. Over and over and over again. Trying to make sure that you see that he's better than you and you're less than. You're not worth it. You're invalidated. Now, you might see this a ton in the relationship, or it might be more subtle. This isn't always like out there and blatant, but oftentimes you'll get triggered with different aspects of like respect. You don't respect him, he's going to flare up. You don't give him the attention he deserves, he's going to flare up. You don't validate his emotions or validate what he just accomplished, he's going to flare up. Why? Because he's that person that's like, I'm special. Why aren't you paying attention to me? It's like the 4-year-old that's like, hey, like, look at me. I'm so amazing, right? They don't know any better, they're 4. But a narcissist does, he just doesn't care. Because what he's looking is to be able to prop up his shallow ego. To be able to prop up his shallow personality that's built with so much ego inside to try to be able to hide the fact that he actually doesn't feel good enough, that he actually doesn't feel worthy, that he has shame and guilt that he doesn't want to process. This is why the narcissist won't change, because he's not willing to be honest. If your narcissist and the toxic guy in your life is not willing to be honest, stop holding on to hope. Because if he will not actually be honest about himself and to himself, nothing else is going to get better. You're never going to convince him that he's a narcissist. You're never going to convince him of the traits. You're never going to show him all these different aspects because he won't actually admit that he's a liar. If he won't admit that he's a liar, then nothing's going to get better. Nothing's going to change. Now, on this channel, we're not trying to diagnose people. Like, I want to make this very clear. Like, we're talking through DSM-5, so we're talking through the actual diagnosis, and we're talking through different aspects of it. We're not diagnosing him as being a narcissist or not a narcissist. But have you consider, why does that matter? Does it actually matter to you if he has the label or not? Because you'll get too trapped in the aspect of, let me have the label. Let me figure out if he is a narcissist or not. Because if he is, then I can leave. If he's not, then I guess I need to stay. Really? Because at the end of the day, all it does is prove that you stay in abuse longer. It doesn't actually show that you're more faithful or that you're a better person. All it does is actually say, hey, I'm willing to ignore all the other red flags because there's not a label saying that they are red flags. They're just orange flags, so they're not that big of a deal. He's in construction mode. But in reality, you're just in the same type of abusive relationship. You're just unwilling to see what it is. So if you're looking for a label, stop. Because one, we can look at the DSM-5 and we can say, hey, if he walks like a duck and he looks like a duck and he quacks like a duck and he poops like a duck and he swims like a duck, maybe he's a duck. Or we can also look at it and be like, hey, regardless or not if he's a narcissist, we can look at all these toxic and negative traits that are affecting you in a negative way, and you could still make a decision. Stop holding out for a label. The label doesn't actually matter. What matters is you're with a liar. What matters is you're with a cheater. What matters is you're with an abuser. What matters is the things that he's doing to you and the things that you're accepting on a day-to-day basis. If you want help actually liberating yourself, mindset, like emotions, and physically from a toxic relationship, and you're confused, how do I actually break this addiction? How do I actually be free from this toxic guy? Then I want you to reach out. Go to rawmotivations.com today to be able to learn more.